Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Merlin Season 5, Episode 3, Another Sorrow. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So basically, in this episode, it begins with a kingdom on fire. Then we zoom into where we see that it is Mithyan and her father Rodor's kingdom that has been under attack by Morgana and her current ally King Odin, who has a grudge against Arthur for killing his son and is the one who killed Uther, but that wasn't enough, and he wants now to kill Arthur and is teaming up with Morgana to do so. We then fast forward to Mithyan arriving in Camelot with an elderly servant named Hilda, who happens to be Morgana in disguise. And with Morgana in disguise, she basically says that her and her father escaped. Her father couldn't make it all the way there because he is elderly, and so he's been stashed in the woods, and she needs Arthur's help to save him, and he's the only one she could turn to. And she stays at Camelot long enough for Merlin to gain suspicion because she is afraid, and they had, of course, met before in A Hunter's Heart, so he knows Mithyan enough to know that something's wrong and to start being suspicious about her behavior and her obvious fear. Morgana is keeping Mithyan under control by both a bangle that she can make burn and cause pain, and also the threat of her father's life. So Arthur agrees to, of course, go into the woods, and Mithyan, Morgana, and Merlin, of course, all go with him, alongside some of the knights. And while they are through the forest, Mithyan tries to warn Merlin by writing Morgana's name on a rock near the river. Unfortunately, Morgana figures this out, and she knocks Merlin out, which Arthur and the other knights go ahead. Merlin is saved by Gaius using magic to wake him up from his unconsciousness. He and Gawain, who is left to guard Merlin, both run after them to try to save them. Arthur, of course, walks into the trap. He's about to be killed, but that's when Merlin enters, manages to give him the opportunity to fight back. Everyone manages to escape, and then in a confrontation with Odin, Arthur ends up winning the duel, but instead of killing Odin, he pleads for an end to their grudge. Arthur killed Odin's son. Odin killed Arthur's father. Rather than dooming both kingdoms to war, let's have a truce, and Odin ultimately does agree to this truce, which allows Arthur to return Nemeth's kingdom to Rodor and Mithyan, and then return to Camelot, having brokered a peace deal. And Morgana's fate is kind of up in the air, as we don't really see what happened to her after the episode, or by the time the episode ends. So now that we've been reminded about what happened in the episode, we'll now rank the episode, and as always, we're ranking first on the mostly objective ranking list, which uses set values to determine the score, followed by the personal ranking list, which is based on opinion and entertainment value. So on our mostly objective ranking, we have to start our single episode supporting character introduction, which is King Rodor, Mithyan's father. He's worth 1 point. Then we have 2 points for the introduction of Morgana's aged character, Hilda, who does appear in more than one episode. The reason I'm counting her separate is because I counted Dragoon the Great, Merlin's alter ego, as his own character, so I felt it was only fair to do the same for Morgana's aged character and have Hilda as her own separate character, which was, again, 2 points. Then we have our multi-episode supporting character development, which of course was Mithyan, who we had met previously. Her kingdom comes under attack. She's then taken hostage by Morgana and then forced into betraying their allied nation Camelot, and specifically Arthur. So that's 2 points. Then we have the positive 4 points, which is the multi-season main character growth, and this shows the maturity and mental growth of Arthur in that he manages to confront Odin and hold himself back from revenge against him killing his own father in order to put the people and the kingdoms above their petty grudges and broker a peace agreement with Odin. And Odin also is able to do that. But I think it does show character growth that Arthur was able to gain that truce with Odin. And so I gave that 4 points. However, of course, we do also have the negative, which is the betrayal of Mithyan. And it was a betrayal under duress, but it is a fact that she brought a known enemy into Camelot under disguise, lured Arthur into a potentially lethal trap, and had Merlin not woken up in time and been able to arrive in time, Arthur would have been beheaded by Odin before he was able to get there, so she would have caused the death of her allies and the falling of yet another kingdom, as Morgana would, of course, gone to Camelot and taken it over, and she has already proven that she doesn't actually care about the country or its people. She just cares about the accolade of sitting on a throne, and she still seems to think it belongs to her, though, again, given the time period, she's a bastard child, she's a female child, she wouldn't have had any right to the throne barring like any other option. I mean, like I said, barring any other option. So obviously she gets rid of Arthur. There is no other option. She probably could then claim the throne. But at this point, because Arthur is fine, she doesn't actually have any right to the throne. And so I do think that that is, I still think it's funny that she's going around saying it's rightfully hers when it is not actually rightfully hers, unless Arthur's already dead, which, since he's not, she has no right. But that's neither here nor there. Point being, that makes this episode a 7 out of 10. And because it is a 7 out of 10, it is going to be put on the list in third place, Arthur's Sorrow, and above it was Arthur's Bane and the death song of Uther Pendragon. Sorry, I have a cold, so if my voice sounds rough, that's why. But basically in this episode, I did score it pretty high. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And the reason I gave it an 8 out of 10 is that I found the plotline compelling. I do like Mithyan as a character. And Merlin made an earthquake, which I think is really awesome. Gaius used magic, which he doesn't do oh my god. Gaius used magic, which he does not do often. Merlin made an earthquake, which was awesome. Mithyan, again, is one of my favorites for like these short-term characters, and I'm glad she got 2 episodes, as the other princesses that showed up throughout the series only ever got 1. I liked the concept of, Morgana taking a new approach to target allies and teaming up with Odin, who already has a grudge. We again got a recurring character in Odin. We also got to see character growth from Arthur being able to create this peace deal, and he does so on advice from Merlin, which again shows Merlin's value as more than just his magical companion, but also as somebody who can give him advice and counsel. And then there was the action scenes of the fighting. We got the travel through the woods, which is always fun. So ultimately, I think that there was a lot to like about the episode. And also, of course, the reveal that Morgana has now taken a page out of Merlin's book and has aged herself, though it does show the difference in their power levels, as Merlin has never really struggled with aging himself, versus Morgana, who does, and does show like extreme exhaustion and magical exhaustion from having to maintain it for longer periods of time, but it also shows her power in that she can maintain it for extended periods of time. So I think that there was a lot to like about the episode, and I didn't really dislike much about it because I understand the betrayal was under duress. I only take a little bit from that. And of course, I do think it started slow. Like there was a lot of time in Camelot where Mithyan was, you know, panicking and having to deal with Morgana and the suspicion. And I feel like they could have maybe spent a little bit less time on that than they did, which is why I also took a few points personally for it. But at the same time, that does build suspense, let the audience in, have a bit of tension build up. So I also understand why they took a little bit of extra time in Camelot. before the journey, before the action, before the actual, like, seeing the burn from the bangle, seeing what the bangle does, the thing with the river and the unconsciousness and, all that. And Merlin made an earthquake, which was awesome. I think that is where most of my points came from, to be honest, because Merlin, he has magic, but it's mostly like he makes people trip or branches fall down, things like that. We rarely see like the big magic from him, but in this case, he says some words, slams his palm down, and then like the entire building shakes, and that's like awesome. It was great, and I love that we got to see some big magic because again, it's rare. So, anyways, with it being an 8 out of 10, that puts Arthur's Bane in first place. This episode comes in second, and then in third we have the death song of Uther Pendragon. Bringing us to the series ranking so far, and on our mostly objective ranking, we have season 4 in first place, followed by season 2 in second, season 3 in third, and season 1 in fourth. Season 5 so far has a score of 27 out of 110. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking side, we have season 4 in first, followed by season 3, followed by season 2, followed by season 1, so each season has seemingly gotten better than the last. And then season 5 is currently sitting with 25 points out of a possible 110. But with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Merlin Season 5, Episode 3, Another Sorrow. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.